Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Explore new revenue opportunities with Harvest Hosts. List your farm and connect with a community of more than 250,000 RVers eager to support small businesses. You only need to provide space for at least one RVer to stay overnight. In exchange, the RVers will patronize your farm. No hookups or RV services required. Ready to add $15K in extra revenue with minimal time investment? Visit us at harvesthosts.com today. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with yet another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. Today, my guest is Alexis Dragovich, co-operator of Mud Run Farms in Northeast Ohio. What started out as a first-generation dairy farm has turned into a father-daughter team working hard to make certified organic grains and fresh stone-ground flours more commonplace. Alexis, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Tell me a little bit, how did you guys get started on growing grains?
Well, my dad had been growing grains for a long time. I think if you have a farm, especially with animals on it, at some point you're going to transition to, I could grow some corn, I could grow some oats or whatever. So he had always kind of, had a couple acres in grains. And actually somebody at our farmers market said, you're growing grains. Have you ever thought about, growing them for human consumption? And so we did that for a couple years, and we had, there's a very large mill, I don't know, about 30 minutes from us. And they would grind the grains, and then, we would bring it back and then sell it to people. And it kind of got big enough that we couldn't, we would say okay, we need, 100 pounds of corn. And they'd say, well, we're not milling corn right now. And so we would be kind of stuck. And then our customers would say, we need some corn and things like that. And then also our customers would say we like this flour, but we wish that it was finer, or we wish it was this or whatever. So in 2020, my dad had the idea to mill it, open up our own mill and kind of mill it in-house, so we could kind of keep the quality and things like that, keep it all in-house. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So then talk us through a little bit of the milling process. I want to get back to obviously the growing of the grains, but the milling is something that we actually have a guy here locally just a couple miles from us that's trying to get set up right now, and it's taken a long time. We've been trying to work with them for about 3 months now. So walk us through what kind of mill do you have, and what's the process around that?
Sure. So our flour mill is an Osterroller mill. They're from Austria. They're pretty popular in the small stone milling community. So that's what we do our wheat and that kind of thing on. And then we have a burr mill, which is what we do corn on. And that's, I don't know, it's over 100 years old. My dad it was built to run off of a tractor power takeoff. And because of, health rules and things like that, he put a motor on it. And so it runs in our building. So I work with my dad side by side, but he's really the visionary for so many things. So I don't want to leave him out at all. He was really kind of the brains behind, I think we can do this. And I'm kind of along for the ride. We used to grow vegetables for a long time, and vegetables are so hard on your body. I don't think people appreciate, how hard you have to work and how it's really a young person's game. And so I didn't, as far as farming goes, I didn't really get a lot of joy out of it. And my dad is getting older, and we want him to continue to be able to do it. So that was another reason why we decided to kind of transition over to grain. So it was something that we could continue to do together as he got older and as I got older. So.
Yeah. So then you have two different mills, and is the one that does the wheat not as well suited for the corn, or talk about the differences between those?
You just kind of don't want to combine those two.
Oh, okay.
You know, the oils and things like that. And yeah, it's just better to keep. You'd have to do a lot of purging to make sure that.
Yep.
I mean, even though we're not a gluten-free facility by
Correct.
any means, we do our best to, you know, sweep and things like that. So just for quality purposes, it's just best to have two separate mills.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what types of flour are you producing with those mills? With the main mill?
Yeah, so with our Osterella mill, it's really where we do all of our wheat. So that's, you know, a hard red wheat.
Yeah.
We do rye, einkorn, spelt, and that's all the wheats we have. And then each one of those, you know, I can do different sifts. I can do a whole grain, and then I can do, you know, different sifts and things like that with it.
Yeah. So then with the hard red wheat, I'm assuming you're only producing a whole wheat flour.
Yeah. I mean, all of it can be a whole grain where we're just grinding it, and then, you know, everything comes out. But then I also have the capacity to sift it out. So we're sifting out some of that bran, and it makes a lighter flour, which is typically for your palate, it's a little bit closer to like what an all-purpose, you know, would feel like and cook with. So.
Yeah. Now, so you're growing the hard red wheat. Now there's soft red wheats. What's the difference there?
Protein levels,
okay,
mostly is what it is. Soft wheat is typically for pastries, and then the hard red wheat or hard wheat. You can have white wheat too. It doesn't, but that's what we grow. It's the red wheat. It is typically for like breads and things like that. And then to make all-purpose, you would combine the two.
Gotcha. Now, is that something where you can test your protein in-house, or you have to send it out?
We send it out. We don't have the capacity to do that. There's lots of different testers that do that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go back to the farm and talk a little bit about that. How many acres do you guys manage?
We just have 30 acres.
Okay, so and then with the wheat crop, what kind of harvester do you guys use for that?
We have a combine. It's an 8300, I believe, John Deere.
Okay.
So
yeah,
small combine.
And so do you use that same one for the corn and the wheat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll have different heads on it.
Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about kind of like the growing of the grains. What's kind of for wheat, obviously with the hard wheat, is that something you seed in the fall and harvest in the spring?
Yeah. So we're certified organic, and so weeds are always on our mind. And so we typically like to do the fall wheats, the winter wheats, because it goes through that dormant stage. And so the plant can kind of get up taller in the ground in the spring than the weeds. But if you plant it in the spring, you have to do a lot of cultivating and things like that. And so the weeds tend. So you can do spring wheats. It just, for us, it just doesn't really work out very well. So we do a lot of the winter grains. Yeah.
And then, so obviously you have the corn, and that corn is a spring plant thing. So is that something where you can bring the wheat off and then go into corn, or double crop, or you have to single crop?
Yeah, we do everything single crop. We do some cover cropping in between, but for like harvest purposes, that's just not something that we do.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about like the fertility program that you use for the fields.
Yeah, so we use a lot of chicken manure and cover cropping, and that's about it.
Gotcha. And then for weed control, I know you did mention that weeds are a challenge. What do you typically like to use for weed control?
We just cultivate.
Okay. And is that with like just what kind of cultivators do you have? Like a spring cultivator? Or?
Yeah, so we have a tine weeder. I don't know if you're familiar with the tine weeders. So we have one of those. We have a couple horses here, so we like to take them out and use those with the tine weeder. We don't get to cultivate as much as we probably should, just for time purposes and things like that. But yeah, we try our best to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Talk through a little bit about, so do you guys have any animals left, or are those all you just moved into the grains?
No, we have chickens. So
Okay.
we have laying hens, and then just uh, in the summertime we'll do, I don't know, we did like 50 broilers, for
Okay.
kind of the community. But yeah, we have some laying hens, and then we have the horses, but we don't have any other livestock
Okay.
here.
So the farm truly is now just focused on the grains.
Yeah, well, I'm constantly knocking high mowing and Johnny seed catalogs out of my dad's hand whenever I see him pick one up. So we do have a small garden, and we still are growing like potatoes and like kind of
Yeah.
storage crops, onions and things like that. But we're no longer doing, different varieties of lettuce and things like that. So actually, we have a small high tunnel, and we used it for the laying hens this summer. So I'm hoping, to get out of that altogether. But yeah, so we still do a little bit of it. We also do some dried beans. Um,
Yep.
so we try to do some of that stuff. We try to have fun. It can get kind of boring when you're just doing, corn, wheat, whatever, oats. So sometimes we'll try some sunflowers or buckwheat. We do that
Okay.
sometimes. And also all of that stuff can just be great for, soil health and things like that. So that's always on our mind first and
Yeah.
foremost. But yeah, we try to have fun with some of the things that we're growing. So we were looking at human consumption soybeans, which lots of people are growing human consumption soybeans, no big whoop, but we would be doing it on such a small scale that it would be a lot different for us. So just, things like that we're looking at. So.
Yeah. So then talk about the marketing of your grains. So like, where do you guys sell them?
We sell them typically at farmers markets. We really enjoy like the direct to customer sales. We do have some like small like cottage bakeries and things like that that we sell to, but typically farmers markets, and we do we're doing like a once a month bulk pickup here at our farm. So you would order it and then come to the farm and pick it up. So that direct to customer is typically where we go.
Yeah. So who would you say your customer is? What's the type of people that are interested in your products?
People that are home bakers, but I actually don't want to say like you don't have to be a baker to eat whole grains. We also have oats, so oatmeal, but then we also have whole berries, and you can eat whole berries as side dishes, with whatever. You can add it into soups, you can put it on salads. So you don't have to be a baker to eat whole grains. But I think, the people that are listening to your podcast, people that want to eat good, real food are our customers. And then, I don't know, we get new customers all the time, people thinking that, being surprised by the fact that we can grow grains, and that grains aren't just for animal consumption, and that the flour that you're buying in the store isn't really what you think it is, and that growing grains and milling grains has been around for thousands of years. We're not doing anything new, but it feels like we're doing something new. So.
Yeah. Gotcha. So then at the farmers markets, what's your typical setup look like? Do you have a lot of pictures of the farm, or is it more just like the products?
Yeah, we just have the products out. I don't really have any pictures. So we offer, I don't know, I'd say we have 20 different products. So my table's pretty full. So I don't have a lot of room for like extra material and things like that. So.
Yeah. What's kind of like people's first impression when they come up to the table, and what's usually like that first thing out of their mouth? Because obviously a small farm doing its own grain is probably a little different than they're used to seeing.
Yeah, I think so. I think the first question is always like, who mills this? And I say, I do. And then they say, who grows this? And then I say, I do. And then that kind of like, oh, wow. Like, so, and then, where are you from? And I say, I'm in Ohio. Obviously I'm here. I'm your neighbor. I'm in Ohio. I'm very surprised by that. So then that's just kind of like a steamroll of like, wow. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So talk us through a little bit about like the cornmeal. Is that something that you recommend for grits and cornbread and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we have a cornmeal and then we have a corn grit, and so it's the
Okay.
same. We grind it once and then we sift out like the smaller pieces end up being the cornmeal, and then the bigger pieces end up being the grits. And our grits are it's a heirloom open pollinated variety of corn. So typically grits, I think people are looking for white corn. So the fact that
Uh-huh.
it's like a yellow and red corn is a little bit different, um, to their eye. So grits, obviously for grits, and then the cornmeal can be for polenta, corn bread, any of that kind of stuff. My mom likes to put it on the bottom of like pizza, so the pizza doesn't stick.
Yep.
But then
Yep.
you can also eat that for if you like a creamier grit. You can use that as grits as well. So there's no
Gotcha.
wrong
Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
eat any of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just eat it.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of sourdough bread makers that buy
Yeah,
from you?
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. I try to ask people what it is that they're doing, with all the
Mm-hmm.
grains, but sometimes, I don't get to that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of home bakers, a lot of sourdough makers. The when you have a sourdough starter, it activates and feeds off of those fresh grains so much more that you get those bubbles and things quicker and bigger than with just regular store bought flour, because it's alive. It's has oils
Yeah.
and things like that in it that you're not getting from dead flour that's just on the store shelf. So
Interesting. Okay, so they have a better probably bread quality. Now, do most of them
mhm.
just do 100% whole wheat with that, or they do?
No, I think a lot of people, and I'm a fan of mixing flours,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to, just use one whole grain. And I think it's all a preference. What do you like on your palate? What's your mouthfeel?
Correct.
Do you like that kind of denser, grittier breads, or do you like, light, fluffy breads? Do you like sandwich breads or,
Yeah.
whatever? Do you like the einkorn? Do you like rye? There's so many different kinds. I think you just kind of have to jump in and see what you like.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess the question would be like, is this something that you guys envision going forward and just keeping doing this? What's like the 5-year plan, I guess?
Yeah, definitely hope so. That is definitely
Yeah.
5-year plan. Just keep kind of like plugging away. We're gonna add some. We've been trying to add some new things as far as like cleaning of the grains and like dehulling and things like that.
Mm.
Definitely a lot more infrastructure goes into this than
Yep.
what we were prepared to do. So it's all, learning curves and things like that. And we do it on such a small scale, and it's just me and my dad that do it. So we don't have, this large team to do all of this stuff. So just do, as much as we can, and then also do it cost effectively. So yeah, that definitely 5-year plan to keep doing farmers markets, keep talking about grains, keep, getting out there. So
Yeah. Okay. What would you say to yourself if you could, like, you were starting all over again? Like, what advice would you give yourself?
we're still so new into all of this. I'm not really like ready to like turn around and look back.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think we made the best decisions that we could with the money that we had, with the time we had, the knowledge that we had. That I don't think it's probably worth it really to look
Yeah.
back and kick ourselves over mistakes right now. So
Gotcha. Okay. What would you say for someone maybe like that's interested in doing this kind of, starting with small scale grains?
yeah, yeah, let's do it. I just say do it.
Okay.
Like I said, grain has been around forever. We're not doing it new. There's lots of there's a pretty good community in the Midwest. I don't know if you've heard of the Artisan Grain Collaborative, which is out of Wisconsin.
Okay.
They have so many resources that if you're interested in, getting started, and that's you don't even have to be wanting to like grow and sell grain. If you just consume grain, if you just like grain, you can,
Yeah.
there's a place for you with them. So Artisan Grain Collaborative, check them out. They're awesome.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Anything else you'd like to share before we go?
We check out our website. You can see all the places that we are at in Northeast Ohio. We're also at the Worthington Farmers Market in Central Ohio, so kind of branching out a little bit there. But yeah, come see us. Come say hi.
Yeah, so that's mudrunfarmorganics.com.
Right.
Yeah, and that shows all the different farm stands and retail and farmers markets that you guys are in. So very cool. Well, Alexis, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you.
So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.